At 2:13 in the morning, every phone in the town went off at the exact same time. Not a normal notification, not an amber alert. This one sounded different, louder, sharper, like something was screaming through the speaker. Ethan Reeves woke up instantly the second his phone exploded beside the bed. For a few confused seconds, he just stared at the ceiling in the dark while the alert sound echoed through his apartment. Then he grabbed his phone and read the message. Emergency alert, remain inside. Lock all doors and windows. Do not respond to voices outside your home. Do not look outside. Wait for further instructions. Ethan blinked at the screen, half asleep, completely confused. What the hell? Outside, rain hammered against the apartment windows. The entire city looked black and empty beyond the glass. No traffic, no movement, nothing. A second alert arrived immediately afterward, this one shorter, much worse. This is not a test. Ethan sat upright now, heart beating faster. He checked social media immediately. The entire town was already panicking online, people posting screenshots, videos, questions. Nobody knew what was happening. Some people thought it was a hack. Others thought it was a chemical spill, a terrorist threat, martial law. Nobody had answers. Then the power went out. The apartment fell completely dark. No television, no refrigerator hum, no hallway lights, nothing, just rain outside and silence. Ethan slowly stood from the bed and walked toward the window, but right before he touched the curtain, his phone buzzed again. Another alert, do not look outside. This time his stomach tightened, because whoever sent these alerts somehow knew people would try looking, almost like they were watching. Ethan stepped away from the window immediately, trying to calm himself down. It's probably some emergency drill, but even he didn't believe that anymore. The rain outside suddenly stopped, instantly, like someone muted the world. And that's when he heard the knocking downstairs, 3 slow knocks, heavy, wooden. Ethan froze. Someone was at the apartment building's main entrance. A few seconds later, he heard another sound, a voice, distant at first, muffled through rainwater and concrete, but getting clearer. Hello, a woman's voice, weak, crying, please somebody help me. Ethan moved slowly toward his apartment door, his pulse rising with every step. The woman outside sounded terrified, injured maybe. Another knock echoed through the building, louder this time. Please let me in. Then suddenly someone upstairs screamed. A full, terrified scream. It cut off almost instantly, like a microphone being unplugged. The apartment building became dead silent again. Ethan's breathing grew shallow. Something felt horribly wrong now. The woman downstairs started crying harder. It's cold, please. Then came another voice. A man this time, somewhere outside the building. Don't open the door. The crying stopped immediately, complete silence. Then slowly, very slowly, the woman's voice changed. The emotion disappeared, flattened, like someone reading from memory. Please let me in. Same words, different voice, not human anymore. Ethan backed away from the door instantly, his entire body cold with fear because whatever was outside was trying too hard to sound human. Then his phone rang. Mom calling. Ethan stared at the screen in confusion. 2:31 a.m. Why would his mother call this late? He answered immediately. Mom, nothing, only static, heavy crackling static. Then finally his mother whispered, Ethan. Her voice sounded terrified, shaking. Don't listen to the voices outside. Ethan stood frozen. Mom, what's happening? Static swallowed the call for a second, then she whispered something else, something that made his blood run cold instantly. It knows where you live. The call disconnected. Ethan immediately tried calling back. No answer. Again, nothing. Again, straight to voicemail. Then came 3 knocks directly on his apartment door, not downstairs, not outside the building, right outside his apartment, slow, heavy, deliberate. Ethan stopped breathing entirely because his apartment was on the 3rd floor. And he never heard anyone come upstairs. Then came his mother's voice from the hallway. Ethan opened the door. His blood turned to ice because his mother lived 4 hours away. Please, the voice cracked softly, exactly like hers, perfectly like hers. Then something scratched slowly across the outside of the door, long nails dragging against wood. Please let me in. Ethan stared at the door in silence. too terrified to move, and that's when he noticed something horrifying. The voice outside wasn't breathing between sentences, not once. Ethan didn't move from the door for nearly a full minute. The scratching had stopped. The voice had stopped. Everything outside his apartment became completely silent again, but somehow that silence felt worse, because now he knew something was standing out there listening, waiting. Then footsteps echoed faintly down the hallway outside. Slow, dragging, not normal walking, more like someone learning how to imitate the sound of footsteps. Ethan backed away from the door carefully, trying not to make noise. His apartment suddenly felt too small, too exposed. Every shadow looked wrong now. Every dark corner felt occupied. His phone buzzed violently in his hand. Another emergency alert. Emergency update: do not open your door under any circumstances. The voices are not human. Do not engage in conversation. If you hear someone you know, ignore them. Ethan felt genuine panic rising in his chest now, not confusion anymore. Fear, pure fear. Outside, something moved quickly down the hallway, too fast. A blur of footsteps, then a loud pounding erupted somewhere below him. Apartment 204 maybe. A man shouted angrily through the building. Whoever's out there needs to stop this right now. Another voice answered immediately, a woman crying hysterically, "Please help me." Then suddenly the man screamed, not startled, not angry, terrified. The kind of scream people make right before they die. Something slammed violently against a wall downstairs, glass shattered. More screaming, then silence, complete silence. Ethan's entire body locked up. He slowly stepped toward the peephole in his apartment door. Every instinct told him not to look, but curiosity won, just for a second, just one look. The hallway outside appeared empty at first. Dim emergency lights glowed red near the stairwell. The carpet looked dark, wet. Then Ethan realized it wasn't water. Footprints. Dozens of wet footprints covered the hallway floor outside his apartment, long, bare, human-looking, and every single set stopped directly in front of his door. Ethan backed away immediately. Heart hammering, trying to breathe quietly. Then his phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't an alert, it was a text message from his younger sister. "Are you okay?" Ethan immediately started typing back. Before he could hit send, another message arrived. "Don't trust anyone outside." Then another. "Something is wrong here." Ethan called her instantly. The phone rang twice before she answered. Heavy breathing filled the line immediately, fast, panicked. "Claire, Ethan," she whispered. Her voice trembled violently. "I think somebody's outside the house." Ethan moved farther from the apartment door instinctively. "What do you mean? I can hear Dad's voice." Ethan froze. Their father had died 3 years earlier. Car accident, winter highway, closed casket funeral. Claire started crying softly now. "It keeps asking me to open the front door." The lights inside Ethan's apartment flickered once. Then again. "Claire," he whispered carefully, "listen to me, do not open the door." A long silence followed. Then Claire whispered something that made Ethan feel sick instantly. "It knows things." What? It sounds exactly like him. The connection crackled suddenly with static. Then Ethan heard another voice in the background. A man's voice, familiar, warm. "Claire Bug." Ethan nearly dropped the phone. That was their father's nickname for her, one nobody else knew. Claire began sobbing harder. "It's him, Ethan, it sounds exactly like him." Then suddenly, the voice on the other side of her front door changed, mid-sentence, like a recording glitching. "Claire Bug." The voice deepened unnaturally, slower now. "Wrong, open the door." Ethan shouted instantly. "CLAI don't." The call disconnected. "No, no, no." Ethan tried calling back immediately. No answer. Again. Straight to voicemail. Again, nothing. Then something slammed against his own apartment door so hard the entire frame shook. Bang! Ethan jumped backward violently. Another slam, harder, bang. Then came whispering outside, not one voice, several, all overlapping each other softly. "Open the door, we are cold. Please." Ethan, different voices. Male, female, children, all speaking together. The apartment lights dimmed lower. The hallway emergency lights outside turned deep red now, spilling faintly beneath the apartment door like blood. And slowly, very slowly, something began scratching underneath the door. long black fingernails searching, feeling around blindly. Ethan stumbled backward in horror. The fingers kept twitching slowly against the floorboards, too long, too thin, not human fingers. Then every voice outside stopped simultaneously. Instant silence. And from somewhere deeper inside the building, a new sound echoed upward. Heavy footsteps climbing the stairs, slow, deliberate, one floor at a time. Third floor. Coming closer, Ethan's breathing became shallow instantly, because whatever was climbing those stairs was much heavier than a person. Thud, another step, the walls vibrated slightly. Thud, then finally the emergency broadcast suddenly activated through every phone in the building at once. Not text this time, a voice, cold, distorted. If you are hearing this message, remain silent. The heavy footsteps stopped outside Ethan's hallway. Do not allow them to know you are awake. Something wet dragged slowly across Ethan's apartment door from the outside. They imitate voices to gain entry. The scratching returned beneath the door. Harder now, aggressive. If someone inside your building opens a door, the broadcast crackled heavily, then continued. Pray they did not let it inside. And somewhere down the hallway, a door slowly creaked open, followed immediately by screaming, not one scream, several. Then running footsteps exploded through the apartment building. People yelling, doors slamming, something crashing violently against walls. And underneath all of it, Ethan heard a sound that made his blood freeze completely. Laughter, deep, wet, inhuman laughter echoing through the hallway outside. Then suddenly, someone started pounding desperately on Ethan's apartment door. Please open the door, a man's voice, terrified, crying. It got into her apartment. The pounding became frantic now, violent, desperate. Please. Ethan stood frozen in the darkness, because underneath the man's terrified screaming, he could hear another voice whispering softly beside him, very close, almost touching the door, learning him, copying him, waiting. The pounding on Ethan's apartment door stopped suddenly, not gradually, instantly. 1 second frantic screaming, the next a dead silence. Ethan stood frozen in the darkness, holding his breath so tightly his chest hurt. Then slowly, very slowly, something slid across the hallway floor outside his door. Wet, heavy, dragging. He heard the man's voice again, except now it sounded calm, too calm. It's okay now. Ethan's stomach twisted immediately, because 30 seconds earlier the man had sounded terrified beyond reason. Now his voice sounded empty, flat, emotionless. It's gone. A long pause, then, you can open the door. Ethan backed farther away instantly. No chance. The voice outside remained perfectly still for several seconds, listening, waiting. Then finally it laughed softly, not human laughter, an imitation of it, like something copying the sound without understanding the emotion behind it. Footsteps slowly moved away from the apartment, but Ethan still didn't move, didn't breathe normally. Didn't blink, because he understood something horrible now. The things outside weren't just mimicking voices anymore. They were learning behavior, learning emotion. Then came another emergency broadcast. This time every phone in the building activated with a burst of static so loud it made Ethan jump. The voice from before returned, cold, distorted, urgent now. If you are hearing this message, do not trust visual confirmation. Ethan stared at his phone screen silently. The entities are adapting. A loud crash echoed somewhere below the building, followed by screaming, more doors slamming. The city outside sounded chaotic now. Distant sirens, gunshots somewhere far away, people yelling in the streets. Then the broadcast continued. They learned through observation. Static crackled violently across the speaker. The longer they remain near humans, the more accurate the imitation becomes. Ethan felt cold sweat running down his neck. If someone speaks to you, the voice hesitated briefly, then continued. They already know your voice. The lights inside Ethan's apartment shut off completely. Total darkness swallowed the room. His phone flashlight became the only light left. And in that tiny beam of white light, Ethan realized something terrifying. His bedroom door was open. He knew he'd left it closed, absolutely closed. Slowly, he pointed the flashlight toward the dark bedroom hallway. The beam shook violently in his hand, nothing there at first. Then the light caught movement near the bed, something ducking downward quickly. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. "Who's there?" The second the words left his mouth, he regretted them, because from inside the bedroom, his own voice answered him. "Who's there?" Perfectly copied, same tone, same breathing, exactly him. Ethan stumbled backward instantly. The voice inside the bedroom laughed softly now, still using his voice, practicing it. Then came another sound, footsteps. Inside the apartment, not outside anymore. Inside, Ethan's blood ran cold. The thing had somehow entered without opening the door. The flashlight beam trembled violently across the apartment walls. Kitchen, couch, hallway, nothing, but he could hear movement now. Slow footsteps circling him somewhere in the dark, always just outside the flashlight beam. Then his phone buzzed again. One final emergency alert, shorter than the others, almost hopeless. "If you hear your own voice, do not turn around." Ethan froze instantly, because directly behind him he heard himself breathing, not an imitation anymore, not slightly wrong, perfect, every inhale, every tiny nervous shake, exactly him. Then his own voice whispered beside his ear. It took Claire first. Ethan felt tears hit his eyes instantly. "No, no," the voice continued softly, almost comforting. She opened the door. Something cold brushed lightly against the back of Ethan's neck. Long fingers, wet skin. "You should have answered the phone faster." Ethan spun around instinctively and immediately wished he hadn't. The thing standing behind him wore his face. Not perfectly, almost perfectly. Its smile stretched too wide, eyes slightly wrong, skin pale and wet like something pulled from deep water, but it was close enough that Ethan saw himself for one horrible second. The creature tilted its head curiously, studying his reaction, learning fear. Then it smiled wider, and Ethan realized something even worse. There were others standing behind it now, inside the apartment, watching silently. Copies, dozens of imperfect human faces staring from the darkness. Neighbors, friends, people from the building. Some half-finished, some nearly human, all smiling. Ethan backed away slowly until his legs hit the kitchen counter, nowhere left to run. The creature wearing his face stepped closer, its movements smoother now, more natural, more human. Outside, the emergency siren stopped suddenly. The entire city became silent. The creature noticed Ethan listening, then softly whispered, "There's nobody left to warn you now." And all at once, every copy inside the apartment turned their heads toward the windows, like they heard something approaching outside, something bigger. Then the creatures smiled simultaneously, not at Ethan, past him. Toward the city beyond the walls. The thing wearing Ethan's face looked back at him one final time, and whispered, "It's learning fast." Then every light outside the apartment building shut off across the city, block after block disappearing into darkness, as far as Ethan could see. And somewhere far away, something enormous moved in the dark. The last emergency broadcast arrived 30 seconds later. Only 6 words, "Do not let them see you sleep." The message repeated twice. Then every phone everywhere went silent forever. Authorities later claimed the blackout lasted only 3 hours. No official explanation was ever released. Thousands of emergency calls disappeared from records that same night. Entire apartment buildings were found abandoned by morning, doors left open, lights still running, meals untouched on kitchen tables, but no people, not a single one. Ethan's apartment building was one of them. Police found every room empty, except apartment 314, Ethan's apartment. According to the officers who entered, someone was still inside, standing motionless in the darkness near the bedroom window, watching the street below. When they called Ethan's name, it smiled. Nobody from that police unit ever returned to work again. And none of them would explain what they saw inside apartment 314. Only one officer ever spoke publicly afterward, just once, during a hospital interview 2 weeks later, before suffering what doctors described as a complete psychological collapse. He said, "It looked human until it blinked." Then he started screaming uncontrollably when hospital staff tried turning off the lights. If you are new here, subscribe to Tales of the Dark, where every story gives you a nightmare. And if someone knocked on your door tonight using the voice of somebody you loved, would you open it?